This is almost a nose examination.
Yeah.
I'm looking for like on the wall to show the whole thing. And it's lit. Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
This is what happens when radio people design a camera studio.
Yeah.
These are old colonoscopy cameras we got at a discount.
Bend over.
So they're right.
Come on.
They're still 4K though.
Yeah.
We'll see all the polyps.
everything. Yeah, that's good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man.
It's been a
I'm doing
minute
good. By the way,
since,
my rock band is called the Polyps. Good job.
Hey,
it's been a
look
minute.
at
It's been a minute. Yeah,
Yeah.
we just flew and got up at 4 o'clock this morning. Got on a plane in LAX, and love doing comedy.
And here you
It's
are
awesome.
now.
Yeah.
Somebody texted me in the break. They go, "Is that the guy from the Titus TV show?"
Yes.
The very same.
You know, we did 2 episodes over COVID. We did 2 new episodes.
Did you really?
With Stacy Keach and everybody. They're on
Really?
they're on my YouTube channel. We did them. We did a live stream and we sold them. So we were making money. I have a sound stage.
Yeah.
So I wrote a script. We built the sets. If you watch it, it
That's
freaks people out
smart.
because we did it just like Titus.
Right.
And Disney owns it now, so I'm just waiting for the lawsuit at this point. At this point, damn Bob Iger is going to call me. Mr. Titus, you did 2 episodes. Sue me, dude. Whatever.
Yeah, that's right. You're going to take my set pieces and the whole bit.
It was awesome.
This is the Carrying Monsters tour this time around, right?
No politics in this tour. We shred my family. This is the darkest thing I've ever written.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because is this the closest thing to Norman Rockwell is bleeding?
Yeah.
Okay.
But Norman Rockwell was me putting my toe in the water to trying to figure out how to tell really honest stories, the darkness that was. And this one is not. There's a bit about my sister's suicide where I pull a comedic triple backflip and land it. Yeah. It's the darkest. It's one of the. When I wrote the joke, I was like, and my wife said, she goes, "What are you gonna write this next show about?" And I go, "I think I want to tell all the true stories, about my." It's dark though, man. And by the way, I'm not bragging. I'm warning everybody.
No, I understand.
It's one of those things where I did it in Scotland. I got invited to the Fringe Festival.
Yeah.
And they're like, "It's the Fringe, man, on the edge. Go for it, bro." So I go to the Fringe Festival. I'm doing this show. And the Scots, we are so screwed up in America. We have no concept until you go to the rest of the world. I'm doing it. They'd laugh, and then they'd go, "Jesus Christ."
Right.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And I'd meet people after the show. They're like, "Did that really happen to you?" Yeah. Jesus Christ. And I was like, wow, Mel Gibson is very disappointed in all of you people.
Right.
He made,
But to the Celtic countries, the dark stuff is like cocaine to them. So they
you think so, but
enjoyed it a great deal.
They were really they were great. The shows went great, but they're much more normal than we are. We are used to a level of dysfunction in America. Because when I brought the show back to America, standing ovations.
Yes.
It was just weird. Like we are a screwed up society.
There was no Jesus Christ from the audience in America.
No. People come after the show and they're like, "Hey man, I got a story for you." And so they don't have the people will do this all the time after they hear Norman Rockwell of the show. They will come after the show or signing something. And they'll tell me a story that they think's funny with no jokes.
They'll try to top you with just the story.
They'll be like, "Oh, my grandma, dude. So we didn't know this, but grandma was shooting heroin because when she was a crackhead when she was much younger. So, but she got older and grandpa died, so she kind of got this weird mild heroin addiction. So one time at Thanksgiving, she passed out. She OD'd on heroin at Thanksgiving dinner, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
Like,
Right, yeah.
I would have added a punchline at that point.
Like it's inherently funny because of it's so extreme.
I guess you had to be there.
Right,
It's just funny.
Like, did she use a turkey baster?
Like the cops,
or-
exactly.
Do you think?
That's awesome. Squirt.
Yeah, that's how bad it was.
Do you think the reason, like in England and Scotland and stuff like that, they're more used to keeping everything in, and I think in America that's not the culture anymore. Like that was 50 years ago. People didn't share what was going on. in their
No, they
lives.
didn't.
But now people are like, because of social media and stuff like that, like, oh yeah, everybody's kind of screwed up, and like we commiserate with each other because of that.
But I think it's going to take decades because they're kind of silly over there. There's like they do have there's a wackiness. There's like this weird Benny Hill holdover that just kind of hangs around in England.
Right.
But you got to remember, we had Pryor and we had Lenny Bruce, we had Carlin. So we've been trained in this for a long time.
It's the American art form.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Jazz and comedy and stand up. I think that's a good point. Yeah.
So this is.
I'm glad they were analyzing comedy because nothing funnier than that.
It's our favorite thing.
But this show's got one of my favorite jokes in it. So this is Carrying Monsters. The great and flammable Richard Pryor once said, everybody carries their own monsters.
That's right.
And so I introduce everybody to every single one of mine. It starts at my childhood where my mom used to take me to bars with her when I was 4.
Hell yeah.
I mean, yeah, she did. It was crazy. You know why? Because babysitters cost 3 drinks an hour.
That's exactly what
needed
it
that
is. She can
fourth
save
Harvey,
it.
Fourth Harvey
My dad's
Wallbanger.
a gambling addict, so we would go to the horse track with him. So I'm like, I I'm not going to miss out on 8 $2 bets.
My dad would take me. We would go to like Lake Tahoe. There's casinos there. My dad loved to gamble. He had this change jar would fill up with quarters, and he would just take the cash it in, and we'd go there, and he would give me like 6 quarters and drop me off at there was like arcade under Harris at the Harris Casino. And he'd leave me there for 5 hours.
Figure it out.
And,
$1.50.
Yeah, so I got really good at pinball. I won games. I got 9 games. But he called it camping. We were going camping.
But for your career, from the creative standpoint, that all probably also allows you to be non-judgmental about that world in a way, right?
Yeah.
Where you're looking for as a performer, a comedian, you're looking for the gold, not the wah-wah. I mean, there's
no, never looking for this. That happens with this show. Sometimes we'll go, the first bit about mom leaving me in the, because she would go out with guys. Like, I got picked up. There's a story I tell.
And you grew up where again?
I live with my mom in North Hollywood, California. My mom was, how would you describe your mom, by the way? Because your dad seems kind of wacky. How was you?
Oh, my mom's a hoarder.
She's a hoarder.
We could have a conversation.
My mom,
you guys honestly might
my
become
diabolical
best friends.
Joker level supervillain. She was manic depressive schizophrenic, 185 IQ, spoke 4 languages, played concert piano, and shot and killed her 3rd husband. So
right.
I think, I don't think I beat your dad though, but I think by moms, I got you on mom.
A psycho savant in many ways.
I will tell these stories, and then the opening bit of the show is me going to bars with my mom and what happened. I got picked up by the LAPD. First of all, we lived in North Hollywood, California. North Hollywood, California is a lot like Hollywood, except there's no money, mansions, or actors.
Right.
A lot of Latinos live there. You could call it Hola Wood.
Yeah.
And ironically, like Hollywood, there's a lot of Oscars.
I lived there for a little bit.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. So we lived there, and anyway, the whole story. It's a long story. I can't tell this whole story, but she takes me to a bar the one night, and and I'm a 4-year-old in the bar, and nobody cared because my mom was super hot. So my future uncles would overlook it.
Yeah.
And so one day she left there was a small band in the corner, this crappy little bar. And she'd take me to these bars with, you guys have bars like that here with no windows. To keep out the light and the hope.
Daytimers.
Yeah. And so she left with this dude out back, and there was a drum kit. I played a drum kit for a little while, and no one killed me. That's how hot my mom was. I'm 4, and I went to go find mom, and I walked out the front door of the bar onto Victory Boulevard in North Hollywood, which is very ironically named. There's never been a Victory on Victory Boulevard.
Right.
And I start walking on the street, and I get picked up by the LAPD.
Yeah.
And they knew I was lost. They didn't think I was turning tricks or anything.
Right.
I mean, unless I was a prodigy.
I was going to say.
Yeah. That joke's dedicated to the Boy Scouts of America and the Catholic Church.
Get your own jar of quarters put together. Yeah. But were you scared, or was it just like that was life?
Isn't that weird? Boy, so many people don't get that because they have their normal life to judge. So when they hear it, they're like, oh my God.
Right.
But if you grew up with a manic depressive mother and a father that was just horrible, my dad got divorced 6 times. If you grew up like that,
nothing scares
that
you.
was just your life.
Yeah.
And so
just Wednesday.
So the cops were like, "Why do you smell like vodka?" I go, "That's what's in a Harvey Wallbanger." And they drove me around the block, and about the 4th time, mom came out, and the cop, and she was so bad. But the cops just get out of the car, and they're just like, I remember this. I'm standing next to her. They're screaming at my mom. The cop's like, "Ma'am, is this your son? What the hell are you doing? Taking a 4-year-old out? He's walking the streets at midnight. What is wrong with you? You should be nowhere near a child. Now take him back inside and get him some bar cherries and martini olives so he has his fruits and vegetables." Now,
I mean,
give me back to her.
But that's part of it too. Is that back then there was a different vibe around those things.
Yeah, you drank in the car. My dad would.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when my dad being mad that the drunk driving laws changed, where you couldn't have a beer in the car anymore.
Right.
Yeah,
like mid '80s. I played a clip a while ago that's kind of going around online again about those people when they started instituting those kinds of laws. In like Texas in the '80s and things like that. They're like, now they want you to wear a seatbelt, and you can't even have a beer in the truck after work.
I want to be thrown free. People used to say that out loud. I want to be thrown. Do you really? You want to be thrown free of the 4,000-pound vehicle that might crush you? Cool.
So how do you so vividly remember so many of those things? Like I barely. Obviously, I think
because here's what happens. Because there's extremeness to it. Like you're still a human being, so even though you're a little kid, I'm standing with the police, and they're yelling at my mom. That's an extreme situation. We're in it's 1 a.m. We're outside of a bar. I remember that. I remember, and I always kind of had this weird. You're kids, and kids are very, very intuitive. My mom was nuts, and I kind of knew it.
Yeah.
But she was my mom. It's what I had, you know? So then when my dad got me, because after my mom left me overnight in Burbank Airport. That's another story I tell on the show. Don't look at me like that. It's okay. I've made a lot of money. I've made a lot of money off
you
of
are speaking
my
my
pain.
language more than you understand.
She let me know, and so anyway, so that's another story, but that I tell on the show. I think here's the thing. Some people are mad about their lives. You're a comic. You're not mad about what your dad did. You can see the absurdity of human beings. That's what happens as a comic. What happens? Because the first bit I ever wrote about my parents got real serious. Because I tried to be Dana Carvey and Robin Williams for about 10 years.
Okay.
And it's not my personality.
Yeah.
My manager at the time just took me aside. He goes, "What are you doing?" I go, because I'd written a bit about my mom's mental illness, but I was doing like, she's mentally ill. Oh, I was like doing that. And he goes, "What the hell are you doing?" I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You're talking about your mom in a mental hospital, and you're doing it like Seinfeld or Robin Williams, and no one knows if you're lying or not. Start being you." And I go, "They're not going to like me." He goes, "Listen, I don't know that happy guy on stage. I know an angry, pissed off guy. Be that guy." Right. And so to stuff it up his butt, I basically wrote a bit called "We Need Comedy to Get Rid of Our Desire to Kill," because I knew it was going to suck. And it ends up being the first night I do it, and it blows the roof off the room. But all I have is my crappy material after that. So I did 3 minutes, killed.
Yeah.
And then
like,
just a little
this guy?
Then I dropped into the and they were like, "What?" And so it was really, it taught me a big lesson about comedy. Be who you are. Find out you can't at the beginning because you don't know who you are on stage. But comics, if you can. That's what you're striving for. You're striving to find out your honest. It's the great story is Pryor. Pryor's the great story. Pryor,
he changed the face of comedy.
Yeah, but did you ever see the shot of him on Ed Sullivan?
Yeah.
He's
doing
Cosby
jokes. Yeah.
Yes.
No, he's
in the suit and he's
got a newspaper. He's got a cardigan on with a tie.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? It was like Richard Pryor doing a bit.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like Carlin before he kind of
Carlin
evolved.
was silly, but Pryor does this, and then so the true story about Pryor, you may know this. He was on stage in Vegas. He was working with, I forget it, some Tony Bennett, whoever he's working for, and he's in the middle of his set. And he just goes, "Man, I'm not doing this mother effing stuff anymore." And he walked off mid-set and disappeared. He ended up in the Bay Area, started doing comedy in Oakland, started doing comedy hardcore, like just Lenny Bruce style, started saying what he wanted, came out 3 years later and was Richard Pryor we know. And Richard Pryor, I think, look, man, what I've accessed, and back to what I was trying to say earlier, my wife said, she goes, "What story couldn't you tell of your life?" And I said, "My story about my sister killing herself." And she goes, "Then you have to write that story."
Right.
And I was like, and I remember.
That's the one you got to figure out how to make funny.
I remember getting mad.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is the situations aren't funny, and you have this. This is hard to do. The situations aren't funny. Usually, how you reacted or what happened around the situation. Like taking a little kid to go horse. It's like there's you as a kid, you're just looking for the upside. You're trying to figure it out. So I always try to approach it. Look, if I had pain about this life, I wouldn't be able to write jokes about it.
Right.
But because I've blown it off now, and here's the thing: if you do have pain about a bit, let's this sort of bit you don't.
I have a bit that I'm working on right now about being a bedwetter till I was 14. So it's a lot of pain that turned into jokes. And I also have a sister that I'm going to call after this and be like, "Hey, I need a favor."
Can you?
But here's the thing about it is that you. So I saw it was a challenge at one point, and I took it on because my wife and I are very competitive, and I took it on and I wrote the bit about what really happened to my sister, and it goes off into guns and it goes off into the statistics about it, about suicide and stuff, and then it comes back to what really happened, and then I can't even do the setup. It's the darkest setup to a joke I've ever written, and then I pull 3 punchlines off. I mean, the audience, they're like,
they're laid out, yeah,
and then I do 3 jokes after it, and then there's I call it hate clapping. They laugh, and then they're like, "I can't believe
I don't know what else to do." Yeah,
like, did you just do that? Yeah, that's well written, but damn, bro.
Yeah.
And that was my triple backflip. So this new show is the best thing I've ever done. We're gonna probably film it right after Christmas. And then I'm working on the next one. I have a list of stuff on my phone already. I love doing this.
Using the sister story just as an example.
Right.
Do you get it all down the facts or the bullet points or the beats of what you want to tell about the story.
Oh, here's how I write.
Are you hearing things to weave in as you're writing, or do you get it all down and then punch through it? And
so I have a system. So Burt Kreischer asked me on the podcast. So how do you? Because I have the Bruce Springsteen story is 29 minutes long, the entire story, and there's a joke every 12 seconds.
Right.
So how do you do that? So what I do is, and this ready, youngsters? You guys ready?
Yeah, I have my pen. Please, hurry.
Well, let me tell you how I do it. So there's the problem with being a comedian when you're writing comedy is that you have this thing in you that I have to be funny. So you're in a room by yourself, and you have this paranoia that I'm not being funny. You don't have to be funny in the room by yourself. So what I do is I call the dragnet part of it. I write the facts down first. I literally write the story beginning to end. I write every detail, where I was, who was there, what their personality was like, but I don't give it any jokes.
So you're not getting sidetracked with the ha-ha.
Right, just A to B, go all the way to end, boom. Then now
we call that Hannah Gatsbying.
Well, she doesn't do the second part. She doesn't do she doesn't do the rest of it. So here's the second part. Maybe,
okay, this is what
I remember having a meeting
Titus
with her,
and
and the meeting got interrupted, and I never told her the second half. That's not going to come back to haunt me. So
I'm the one that said it.
Here's the second part. So then you go back, and now, but you have 80. Let's say you got 45 things, 45 details, and be as specific as possible because the comedy's in the details.
Yeah.
Really, people think comedy's and you ever notice. Well, look at Pryor. Pryor didn't you ever notice it? He told specific stories about moments in his life that are so specific. That's
that people couldn't identify with, but made them really funny.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, but Pryor had this great way of grounding it into human emotion. So we are all humans. We all have emotions. We all get it.
Yeah.
So then what I do is I go back, and then you got 40 things. Well, it's daunting. Now you're a comic. You got 40 jokes you got to write. Well, I took that out of it. I just take the 40, I put it aside. I take the first one, put it down there, and I just work on a punchline. For every sentence needs a punchline. Every sentence needs a punchline. And it doesn't have to be a killer. It just has to be enough to blow the feather up. Laughter is and
I like that.
So you keep doing that. You keep doing that, and you do that 40 times. So what'll happen is because you've kept blowing the feather up, the laughter, you never let the audience get quiet. They just, every little joke's got something. There's going to be a killer story because you told an anecdote, and there's a reason you told this story, because at the end there's a point to it.
Yeah.
Because you've kept them laughing, that whole 40 jokes, it was just like 7, 8 minutes. That end of that story, Grandma did heroin. You find out at the end. They'll give you an applause break. The best I ever saw doing it was Richard Jeni. Richard Jeni was such a master, man. I went and watched him. He was at JFL. I was watching him just for laughs, and I've never seen a guy walk on stage, present a subject, build the premise, then he would just amp it up to where applause.
Yeah.
Boom, new premise.
That was really sad about Richard Jeni.
Nick Costas over at Hilarious always talks about Richard Jeni and has the most glowing reviews of him. And I unfortunately never got to see him live, but I was at the club. Scott, who brought you over, was the one that told he's like, I got terrible news, and it was just so devastating because
he was a nice guy.
He was a nice, but there was some sort of jealousy or something against him by some comics, but then maybe it was more his personality off stage. But
I have that problem too, man. Over the years,
that's what I was trying to tell you.
I'm a much nicer guy. Oh, that was a nice way. I didn't know this was an intervention. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
It is.
See how he blew the feather up until he got to the end.
And then he was like, Titus, we gathered here for this reason.
Drop the hammer.
There's a reason you're not. You're not.
He's a quick learner.
Over the years, I have smarted off to people. Sometimes I do it as a joke.
Yeah.
Well, I was a comic years ago. I got off stage. I was a new comic, and I used to do this. Man, God, that guy, you guys remember? Guys, let me tell you, I started this business in 1983.
Yeah.
I was making a living at 80. I haven't had a paycheck from a real job since 1986.
Yeah.
So,
good for you.
it was this comic I'm working with, my first gig, and I'm opening, and I used to close with this Clint Eastwood as president bit. I mean, granted, this is 1983.
Very topical.
Yeah. At the time, I was killing it.
I know it.
Because all this was going on with Russia, and he does a speech from Dirty Harry and blah blah blah. So, and I was the first guy to do it. But anyway, I slay up in Sacramento. I get off stage in the middle acts there, and it's a guy, and I just say, I said, follow that mother effer. And I was kidding. I was kidding.
Yeah.
So that story gets around to San Francisco that, oh, Titus is just this guy. I was kidding. But my dad, I was raised by a dude that, like, we would have insult competitions on summer vacation with my family. We would just, my brother, my sister, and my dad would sit around and slam each other for hours at a time. My dad's drinking. He would start it, and then we just start going back. And then
like
he would
deep
laugh.
Cuts?
Oh, I'm talking.
Or surface material.
We'll find out exactly what's wrong with you, and then we take it. Then you take a drill, and you put a hole through that. That's what we. That's what we did. So that's how I was raised. So I can be really harsh without. I'm just being funny. I keep waiting for but no one else was my.
But
dad.
my guess is the guy couldn't follow it, and so then he's like, well, I don't like this guy now.
That's true.
There is that.
Just so you know, that did happen.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
But that's also kind of, as me being an a-hole too. But and I'm very specific about what I like and what I want. And I think some people over the years have gotten like, oh, Titus just, I like when I did my TV show, that was my idea. I fought for the black and white. And I go, no, this is what we're doing. And I told them at the network, I said, guys, if you don't want to do this, I don't want a TV show.
Right.
And they were like, you're kidding. I'm like, no, if this is black and white flashbacks, we have to shoot the flashbacks in single camera. They have to be funny in 15 seconds. The black and white, because I wanted to set up a visual thing where the audience didn't have to be told where they were.
Yeah.
They knew they were in the black and white space. They knew I was going to talk to camera. If it was a single shot without cutting, they knew it was a flashback. And then they had the 4-camera sitcom. And it ended up being brilliant, but there was some people that argued with me about it, and I'm sure I left some. There's, if you look behind me, there's bridges on fire. Do you see the smoke?
Knives in your back.
Those are bridges.
Yeah.
I've heard them.
Christopher Titus is back in Cleveland. It's a Carrying Monster Stories at Hilarities this weekend. You can go to pickwickandfrolic.com for the details.
I'm better now, by the way. I'm better now.
That's good.
Yeah.
And he is prolific, if nothing else.
What have you heard, by the way? Seriously,
so many good things.
Also paranoid. Also paranoid.
Well, we put the camera so close to his face. How can he be anything?
That did freak me out.
I know, right?
That was an artistic thing that we decided to do because
we are uncompromising here on the show.
Exactly.
With our choices.
No one's telling me what to do.
That's right.
But that also got me my TV show canceled.
Yeah.
We had a new president come in, and I went, and they wanted to change
of the guard.
And I went, nope.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay.
Goodbye.
They were like,
Bye.
we don't need you. Yeah, but I'm doing so what? Nah, we don't need you.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see you, man. Congratulations
on Thanks for having me on. I hope I was amusing. And,
absolutely. Oh, you always are.
By the way, that class, that comedy class we just gave, please record and save it. No, it's all right. That's a freebie because you put some butts in seats tonight by letting me come on the radio.
Yeah.
But that's why the stories are so long. So just give yourself, okay, last thing I'm going to say, comedians, when you're writing by yourself, give yourself permission to not be funny. No one cares. Don't take it on stage like that.
Yes. I was gonna say, like, I know comedians that are listening to the show right now. You got that part down.
Right. Titus said it didn't need laughs.
Titus said, "Don't be funny." That's not what I said. It's not what I said.
I gave myself permission every day. All right, go see Titus at Hilarities, and you'll never be let down.
This is the Alan Cox Show. Everywhere on our free iHeartRadio app or whatever smart device you have. Just tell it to play the Alan Cox Show on iHeartRadio.
Get ready to win your way to our 2023 iHeartRadio